G'day folks. Oh, look at what we have here. It's a cheap little eBay buy that I've been waiting to come in. Seller actually shipped in really good time. Like, I've been hanging out to get this. This is a Harman Kardon PM650 high current amplifier. It's rated up to 50 watts per channel, I believe. So we'll finally have some decent sound in here. Yeah, it was cheap. It does have a slight hum on startup, like for the first 30 seconds. I'll plug it in and set it up and just see what it sounds like. I'll also have a quick look inside just to see what things look like. I've got a feeling the main DC filter capacitors, the big ones, they do go and eventually it just hums all the time. It's a known thing, and apparently there's plenty of room inside to put a couple of 10,000 mic caps in there. I don't know what's in it at the moment, but it'll be something similar, like 8600 or something. Yeah, it's packed reasonably well. Only negative would have to be putting this rather sticky self-adhesive foam across the face. There's tiny little specks of black stuff in it because it started pulling bits of the printing off. Now that was already like that. I could see in the auction there were already some bits that were missing, but peeling this stuff off kinda, yeah, one of those hold your breath moments, because it took a little bit more of the volume markings off, a little bit more of the speaker markings off. I mean, it's a well-used amplifier, so it's going to get a bit of wear and tear. It's just not nice unwrapping it and having some rather tenacious adhesive start pulling markings off, because this stuff is sticky. But yeah, there's little black specks on it where it's taken a bit more off. So it might have seemed like a good idea at the time, but I would not recommend anyone do that. If anything, grab some foam and just sort of pack it over the front and then you pull your bubble wrap tight and it'll hold it there. But yeah, that's not such a good idea. Unfortunately, it's also on the back as well, so I've got to pull all that off very carefully. But I must admit, it's pretty good adhesive. I'll definitely be probably saving this for when I do audio install on Blu-rav, because there's going to be plenty of little points where I can seal up and prevent vibration, so I'll leave all that stuck to that and just cut it out and stick it on the wall for the time being. Likewise, I also want to find some thinner, softer, easier to compress, like basically door jamb foam. I want to buy a couple of rolls of that and just put it in between where every single plastic panel meets up to each other, because yeah, cheaper cars do tend to rattle, especially when you put too much bass through the chassis. I think any car would start developing rattles if you start putting too much bass and just vibration through it. So that's all fun of putting audio equipment in things. I know I can make this shed reverberate pretty good with an amplifier like this. It's not the most ideal location, but it gives me a chance to move my Luxman to my bedroom and run dual amplifiers in there. The old ones I've been trying to fix, I've just put them on hiatus, too hard. They're in the too hard basket, unfortunately. But yeah, I was shopping around having a look at quite a few different amps, and then this one popped up and nobody put a final bid on it but me, so it went nice and cheap. I'm quite happy with that. There's a Pioneer I might have another look at, which is, I think it's buy it now $150 up in Queensland, and it's a really nice amp. I think it's 70 watts per channel or something. So I don't know. I'm just on an electronics spree at the moment. Yeah, there we go. That's kind of nice. Very clean. Sticky foam came off the back just fine. It's mainly where there's been a lot of use anyway. People touching it, probably finger oils attacking the markings on it, and yeah, particularly around the power switch. Obviously you're going to push the power switch, so you rub and wear in that area, and the volume controls where most of it is. Same with the input. Yeah, I think I'll pop the covers off, just have a quick look inside, see if the caps aren't spewing, because the hum on startup does sort of sound like a filter capacitor issue. I've had a few amps that did that. They usually hum for a bit while the caps warm up and charge up, and then stop, and eventually when the caps go really bad and even start venting in some cases, they just hum all the time. So you don't want it to get to that stage either, especially if it's a DSP amp, because you could even be getting AC ripple going through to the sensitive electronics and damaging things. You don't want that at all. Yeah, so I'm gonna have a quick look inside and see what it's like. Okay, so I had a quick look at it and it doesn't seem too bad. Fairly anemic looking DC caps, even though there's 4 of them. I think that's what the guys were saying, they put 10,000 mic in there because these ones are currently 4,700. So I'll see about that. I'll look into the article again. There's an article on it. Everything seems to be fairly well laid out. So you've got the amplification and power stage. That's preamp in there, which also gives you a cartridge. Oh, this is all for phonograph, and it's got capacitor trim and everything in there. It's that MC amplifier. Yeah. This preamp is, I think that's just for phonograph. This looks like preamp here. Don't know. Again, I'm not that familiar with amplifiers. Certainly goes to our volume and treble bass, treble control, but everything else seems to come back to here. So this is probably a combined preamp board. You can see there's a pair of preamp transistors or something on there. Anyway, you can see some nastiness around the base of those caps though. Looks like one of them might be leaking electrolyte. Mostly decent looking caps, Elna and Matsushita. Componentry's not bad, the soldering on this top board's good. There's a few points which might need a touch up, but again they're not cracked, not visibly anyway, so good points on soldering so far. Let's flip it over and take the bottom cover off. We'll have a look at what that looks like. I wonder if I even have some caps like that in storage. I don't know. I'll try and remove one and see eventually. I want to plug it in and just see what it does first. Okay, how are those for outputs? It's that Sanken 2SC 2773 and 2SA 1169s. They do say these are a bit hard to come by, so yeah, that's probably not a good thing, but yeah. The amp stage supposedly still works, it just hums for 30 seconds on startup. Well, who knows, it's an eBay buy. Someone's definitely been in here, and they've definitely had some fun with the selector switch. You can see where they've damaged some traces and bridged across it with wire. Yeah, definitely a bit of a mess there. Doesn't look bad though. I've had a closer look at it and they've done a reasonable job of it. Probably shop work. They've probably replaced the input selector. But there are a few spots in here which are a little bit suspect, so I'll end up running the soldering iron over it eventually. And I've got a feeling the problem's probably going to be input caps. 4 of them. Wonder if it's worth getting 10,000 mic caps, whether I should just go for or even, they're 4,700, so maybe 5,000 mic each, make it 10,000 per bank. 10,000 each would be huge. I wouldn't fit them in there. They must have been 10,000, not was it 9,600 or something like that, whatever the bloody figure is, 9,300 mic. So yeah, not half bad. It's the first time I've even seen inside Harman Kardon gear. I know the name. I know they make nice audio equipment, particularly car audio. I was in a friend's Lexus. What was it? I think it was a RX 330 or something. I think it was a Lexus, and that had the premium 10-speaker Harman Kardon surround system in it, and that was nice. So they certainly know how to make some electronics, but again, it does look a bit light in some areas, but again, it's not a massive high power amp. I was looking at some really high power amps for the workshop, and they are like $600 and up. If you want any kind of decent amp, you either got to find it in the roadside rubbish collection or pay out the arse for it. So yeah, I think I'll keep an eye on where the hard rubbish collections are, particularly up around Toorak and other areas, and we'll go electronics hunting, because you'd be surprised what people throw out. It wouldn't surprise me in the least if this amp was a roadside find, because the same seller has tons of various audio gear in various states of well, repair or disrepair and that sort of thing. Most of it seems to be working, but he is selling a few items which need electronic work, and yeah, who knows. Oh well, I'll have a bit of a closer look at this, pop a couple of caps out, ESR them and check them, and yeah, we'll see how we go. I'll just put some speakers onto it and add power. That's the easiest way. Okay, got tiny little speakers hooked up. Nothing serious at the moment, just thought I'd plug it in, turn it on, see what happens. No audio source plugged in yet. Okay, it's not coming straight through, like I'd expect. Got a bit of actual hum from the transformer, but that was about it. That's expected, because the caps were charging, so the transformer, well, resonated. Okay, I might not have had the right speaker system on, so I'll try that again. Not getting any normal hum. I'd expect a 50 Hz hum through it at all times, unless it hasn't turned the speakers on. A little bit of noise coming through. Let's tape out. Oh, that's the one that's been worked on. This one's okay. This is the one that they've had off the board. I thought it was the main input. That's main input. Oh, sorry, no, that's mode. That's main input. Blah. Too many amps I've worked on have the inputs down here, but this is input. That's the tape out pot. Or select, actually it's a slide switch. That's the one that they've done all that solder work on, so even if that doesn't work, it's not all important, at least to me anyway, unless it's actually passing signal through it and having an issue. But yeah, I don't know. Someone has definitely been in here, obviously. All the cover screws are all were all mixed up. They're all, well, some of them probably didn't even belong to the amp. But I can solve that, at least get a set of identical dome head screws from, say, a plasma TV or something. Just identical black chrome domed head screws, rather than having a complete mixture. Yeah, I definitely got to keep this thing nice and clean and tidy too. I keep the Luxman nice and clean at the moment, so it's not too bad for it to live out here. If it was something like a Macintosh or something like that, that'd live inside. As much as I'd like that kind of audio out here, it's pointless. I just want something to get down and dirty and just play heavy metal and 9-inch nails and classic rock and all that sort of stuff. And this kind of $100 amplifier should do the job just fine. Anyway, let's get an audio source onto it. We'll play some copyrighted audio and hopefully not have the video flagged. Well, even with crappy little speakers it works pretty well. Definitely doesn't have the guts to drive the Sono though. Mind you, the woofer that I put in it's pretty crap anyway, so if I can get a decent quality woofer and a decent separate bass amp to drive it, that thing's gonna shake walls. I don't think the camera picks it up, but you can just hear everything in the shed resonating. Like, not bad, it's just a it lets you know it's there. I guess that's all that really matters. I mean, if I have a separate amp driving 2 of these and this amp driving 4 main speakers, it's pretty damn good. I mean, I don't want overpowering, drony, nasty bass. This has the power to make this not drone, whereas if I plug it into something like the subwoofer output of I've got a Panasonic 5-disc DVD home theatre amp and everything, like, well, all in one unit, you can turn it up louder, but it drones and just flattens out so bad because the amp's just got no guts to it. You can't even drive decent speakers with the output. They're designed for those little wall mount speaker pods that you get with the home theatre setup. Basically that amp can go in the bin, it's useless. Unless you've got the original speakers and everything, it is absolutely useless. The DVD doesn't even work in it, so I'll do an autopsy on that one day. It still works, but it's just a gutless piece of junk. But this thing, yeah, No sign of any hum. I've shut it down and started it a few times, but I've got a feeling the caps hold charge anyway, so who knows. See how it goes. I haven't put a meter on it, I haven't done anything, I just put the covers back on and left it at that. I'm going to make a little shelf for it. I got some new timber to build a shelf, and I'll set it up, make sure it's all happy and working, and we'll go from there. Thanks for watching. There's something interesting. When I play with the tone defeat switch and even wiggle it around, it does all kinds of weird things. It even gets quite loud at one point and really dry. So I'm wondering if that might even have a problem with the, will be a part of the warm-up issue or the humming issue. It's interesting that it was reported to be only 30 seconds every time you start it up, but I got a feeling it's probably the tone switch, because when I play with it, it does all kinds of weird shit. So I might have to pull that little subboard there out and have a bit of a play around with it. Maybe even just re-crimp the metal casing on the switch so that the board sits in properly. I'll be willing to bet that it's just been knocked and it's actually pushed the printed circuit board off the metal switch frame. Kind of like what happens when you bump a potentiometer too hard. It pushes the shaft back against its little thrust bearing, and the thing releases a bit and becomes intermittent in contact, or even partly around it'll start to lose contact because the board's popped off on the other side. You can get lucky and crimp them back together again, and they'll usually work. Even looking at the front here, you can see these knobs are slightly off centre, so it's probably had a bit of a bump at one point and damaged these switches. So that's definitely something to look at. Probably half the problem. I mean, yeah, once I got the shelf and everything up, I'll give it a good run as it is, and then we'll look at the internals of it, because there are some solder joints I want to look at. It wouldn't hurt to put some new caps in, main DC caps in it. And yeah, definitely look at that tone defeat switch, so that should do it. I think I'll just use it as it is on the table for now, and I'll work on... Actually no, I need the table to build the shelf, so everything has to move, along with everything down the back. Actually, I'll give you a quick look at the Panasonic thing which I was trying the Sonos sub with. Yeah, this is what's inside one of these all-in-one home theatre things. And the DVD changer, which still has a disc in it, some description. Oh wow, the spindle motor's actually seized. Yeah, 9-inch nails. Oh no, it's not seized, that's actually part of the... Is it part of the magazine? Yeah, it's one of my 9-inch nails CDs. It sort of... Sometimes it plays audio CDs just fine, but it's never played a DVD in all the time I've had it, and I have cleaned it and tweaked it and whatever I did when I first found it. It was a roadside find, what do you do? Yeah. Hybrid power module again. Some decent sized caps. Fairly cheap stuff. Everyone likes buying these all-in-one home theatre in a box kind of things, but as the guys at the audio or the appliance shop were saying, they use things like Sansui and Macintosh and all the decent amps, Harman Kardon and Luxman. They like all the old-fashioned decent amps, and they see people buying all these all-in-one generic DSP systems expecting to get really good quality, and they don't fulfill their expectations, let's just say that. So yeah, this thing's a piece of junk. It's really, I mean, if you wanted a basic PC speaker amplifier that sounded like crap and had a output for a small 6 ohm subwoofer, it'd work. I mean, I used it as a PC speaker amp for ages. I was actually driving some decent sized front speakers, which still sounded pretty anemic considering how beefy I built them when, I don't know, I think I was like 12 or 13. And yeah, it works because my previous amplifier blew up. But nah, you want a decent amp, buy something like that. Even if it needs a little bit of attention, if you're electronics savvy, it's not hard. And if you're like me and have no bugger all about amps, it might be a little bit harder, but still. Don't buy one of these unless you absolutely have to, or if they throw it in with your new TV for nothing. Yeah, go for it. That board's almost discoloured underneath that IC. That's all part of the input side of things. That IC's gotten hot.